Panthers. That's a rookie doing an interview, although he is composed, he is humble, he is a joy to talk with. But we need some translation here. Rex, what should have Zion said?
He should have said, well, Leslie, you know, look, I'm just bigger and stronger and faster, and I jump higher than everybody else. And look at me. I look like Adonis. I mean, that's what he should have said, right? Come on. He's freaky now. And I say this with all due respect. He's a man-child.
Yeah.
Once and when you hear him say this, I remember coming in the league at 19, 20 years old, and I was literally the youngest player in the league. And when he gives interviews, I swear I think about being that young because you're sort of in awe of everybody. You're on the floor with, now he's on the floor with LeBron. I was on the floor with Kareem and Larry and Magic. And he said something the other day. They asked him a question. He said, I got teammates with kids. And I remember thinking the same thing. Right. Del Curry had Stephen right away. And I was like, I've never had a friend in my life with a child. I can barely take care of myself. So he's just young, but man, he's going to be good, right?
Well, we didn't show the beginning of that interview. Lisa's getting ready to do the interview last night on ESPN, and Zion's walking off the court, and there was usually there's a PR person. The staff in New Orleans does a tremendous job, I should say, but there's no one right there, and Lisa goes up to Zion, and we're all seeing this live on TV last night, and Zion goes, you want to interview me? Like, yeah.
You're the guy.
Yeah, you're the guy. Every game,
you're the guy.
We want to interview you.
Yeah. When you win, they want to interview you. When you lose, we want to interview you because we want to know what you think. Because you're the face of this franchise going forward. But look, it's impressive to watch. 6-5 for Zion in the lineup. Last 11 games, he's averaging 22 points. And realistically, when you talk about just being in awe of the moment, what's so impressive about him as a rookie? He's so dominant still. Look, he's dominating the game. Look, in all facets of the game. Usually you look at guys and say, look, this is a guy that I idolized growing up, a guy that dominated this space for a long period of time. Like you saw Carmelo Anthony last night, him and Carmelo matching up. He brought the physicality of the game right to him, right at his chest, playing hard. And Carmelo said, like, who can I compare him to? I've never seen anything like him. Not no Blake Griffin. He's Zion, like the first one.
And on the other side of the court, Zion wasn't afraid to guard Melo.
Facts.
No.
Now, he wasn't ready to get into that popcorn shaker, but I mean, at the same time.
Technically ready, right?
Because it's a lot to throw at you.
That's right.
You know, like, he's a surgeon offensively when you talk about Carmelo Anthony. One of the best scorers that this game's seen. But Zion was ready for that challenge. And he stuck his hand in the candy jar, didn't come out with anything but a bucket by Carmelo. But he brought that impact and that force on the offensive end of the floor. And that's impressive to watch from a rookie.
I think it's safe to say that Zion has exceeded expectations over his first 11 games, particularly coming off of a pretty serious knee injury. We didn't know how he'd react. But is it fair to put on his shoulders, Rex, that Zion could take a team that's been several games back in the loss column and lead them into the 8th spot and push them into the playoffs?
I think it's feasible. You know, I remember, it's been a long time now, 25 years ago probably, when David Robinson came into the league. And the very first year he came in the league, he turned them around, got them to the playoffs in San Antonio. This guy has a similar impact. I mean, he's a big-time player. He's so efficient. He plays into your body at such a young age. Again, like Karan said, once he figures out the technical part of the game, it's going to be a wrap. And I'm still waiting for my phone to ring. I know a lot of GMs, a lot of execs in this league this time last year that was going, I'm not a believer. I don't think he can. I don't know about that body. What?
Yeah.
That body, yes.
You got some receipts?
We'll see.
He's not even in the best shape yet.
Right.
I know.
Just imagine once he get into the best shape of.
So let's imagine. What is that?
I mean, look, he slimmed down a little bit, about 15, 20 pounds, and then, I mean, he's going to jump higher. He's going to be better conditioned, so he's going to run faster.
Yeah, I interviewed
like, can you imagine that? He's going to jump higher and run faster.
I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, and he was so disappointed in himself. He said, what does he have, a 44, 45-inch vertical? He said, I'm only up to like 33, 35 inches right now.
Oh, is that all? Yeah, he's pogoing balls into the stands. Into the stands.
Two hands dunk, cock it back, put it on his numbers, and like, you know what? I'm mad because that was like a regular person dunk. I could have dunked it like way harder.
He's still at that young stage where he gets off the bus at shoot around and goes out there and just starts dunking. No stretching, no nothing.
Right.
It's impressive, man.
Well, Sunday afternoon, you'll be able to see, Sunday evening, I should say, at 8:30 Eastern, Zion on NBA TV against the Warriors. Should be a fun one. Warriors-Pelicans Sunday, 8:30 Eastern, right here on NBA TV. The game of the night tonight is Giannis and the Bucks taking on the Sixers. Look at this.
Is that the best player in the world? Hey.
You, Giannis.
No, that's Joel Embiid.
Hey. Okay.
Did he just whoa?
Yes, he
whoa.
did.
He learned that at All-Star.
I saw him out there
That
working
girl
on
that taught him to dance.
Right.
Yeah.
He did.
What he got on it? The Air Giannis's?
You got it.
They're coming to Americas? He's having too much
He
fun.
is having fun, right? I was just thinking.
I wonder, was he wrestling?
Best
before
player in the
game?
world just out there dancing.
Hey, man, it's so easy.
Bucks Sixers coming up in a bit on this Saturday night. It's the game of the night. You get the MVP and the guy many consider the best player on the planet, and the guy who's calling himself the best player in the world. They're going head-to-head for the third time this year. It's Giannis versus Embiid. Sixers and Bucks. Can Philadelphia figure out how to win away from home? That's what we'll find out tonight. Ron Butler, Rick Shavin, Jared Greenberg.
So you're saying something got to give tonight, huh?
Something's got to give. You know, there's all this talk about, and Ben Simmons will play tonight after missing Thursday's game with some back stiffness. There's a lot of talk of whether these two can fit together. I want to shout out Kirk Goldsberry, who does an amazing job for ESPN. He wrote a great feature today on how it's not just Embiid and Simmons, it's about the rest of the team that's a bit of the issue. And I want to point out one little nugget he had in this story today. 25 NBA players, 25 individual NBA players have made more unassisted three-point shots than the Sixers have made as a collective team the entire season. Does that stick out to you, Rex, as an issue?
It sticks out, but you also have to look at their team construct. And Ben Simmons has the ball a lot of the time. He's not shooting the ball from out there. They don't have guys flying off screens and him finding guys. What they're doing right now is it's not unlike what Jerry Sloan did back in the day with Karl Malone and John Stockton. They're running basically a shorter pick and roll closer to the basket and lifting guys on the weak side. We used to call that the parking lot. Defensive rules are such now that you can't really do that, but you can a little bit with a little bit of misdirection. And look, these guys are good, and I got to give it to Brett Brown for being creative, trying to do some different things.
I think that the game tonight, and you're going to see a lot of it, where Giannis plays the same type of way, where he's going to initiate the offense, come down, length of the floor, downhill, and then when they plug, instead of electing to find the seams of the ball and shoot the jump shot, he's just going to seek out a perimeter guy and go play the two-man game with them immediately so they can go downhill and he still can get to the paint.
Right before the trade deadline, Brett Brown was empowered by the general manager, Elton Brand, to make any personnel adjustments that he feels will lead to winning. And the one noticeable adjustment that has been made over the last two games, and tonight will be the third straight, was removing Al Horford, who just got a $100 million contract, out of the starting lineup for the first time in his career since he was a rookie, and having him come off the bench.
You know,
well, why are you laughing?
I think it's a safe move for Brett,
yeah,
honestly, because Al is such a good teammate. Because you can go to Al and say, hey, Al, would you do this? And Al's going to say yes for the team. However, you know, Al, as a competitor, probably has a little bit of an issue with it. But, again, he's trying to win a ring. He did that in college. He's going to see if he can do it again.
I think it's a brilliant move by Elton Brand by saying, look, I gave you everything.
Yep.
You did it your way, and it did not work. Now I got to cut you. I got to let you go.
What if they win it, though?
But if you win, I keep you. It was brilliant. It worked.
What if they go to the finals?
If you go to the finals, you got to keep them.
All right.
But now, look, we traded away the future. We got rid of Markelle Fultz. We let J.J. Redick walk. Jimmy Butler, some things happened there, and I'm pretty sure that story is going to come out at some point. We've given you everything. We spent $600 million in free agency period. We got all the guys you wanted. Your team.
I want to give Brett a little bit of love here too, because he's gone through some really tough times with this squad. Times when guys were sitting out. Joe missed a whole year. Ben missed a whole year. 2 years. That's right. So look, and we've seen this happen. I just appreciate that they stuck with Brett through all of the losing.
You had to.
Let me reiterate something that I reported on TNT last Tuesday night when the Clippers were playing the Sixers. And this is, I think, a very interesting note, that as much as Brett Brown has been empowered by Elton Brand to make these roster and personnel moves, well, let me give you the flip side to what's happened in the Philly organization. There's been an organizational structure change, and it is significant. When Elton Brand was hired a year and a half ago, it was made very public that Brett Brown and Elton Brand were on equal ground. Both reported directly to ownership. Neither one reported to each other. And the last few weeks, the organizational structure has changed in Philadelphia, and they want it to be public now that Elton Brand is now the boss of Brett Brown. And Brett Brown does no longer report to ownership, Josh Harris. Brett Brown now reports directly to Elton Brand, and that is significant when you talk about an organizational structure.
So do you make announcements like that unless you're trying to steer the narrative going down the future? So if you do win, good for you. You're going to be rewarded to keep your job. But if not,
It's a great political move. Elton Brand learned from David Falk.
yeah.
He knows about leverage.
This is where I knew it was a problem, though. Whenever you have to have a press conference to say, like, this is our guy going into the season, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
When you have to identify that.
It's crazy, too. We're talking about this team who's just won 4 straight games.
They're good.
The problem is they won those 4 at home, and now they're going on the road against the best team in basketball. So tonight we're expecting, right, to see, you know, the other side of this bipolar team that we've seen throughout the course of the season, where they're great at home, best home record in basketball, and they're 9-19 on the road. And the craziest part about this is that usually when you see a team struggle on the road, it's because they're good offensively, but they're bad defensively. This team is an anomaly in that they're one of the best defensive teams at home, and they're really good defensively on the road, but they can't score.
Puzzling. They're a puzzling team. And, you know, when you just look at how they're constructed, it just seems like they're a little bit, the parts just don't quite go together, but they're really good, and they're getting better all the time.
They have moments where, like you touched on, they play extremely well at home. We saw the Christmas Day game where they pretty much just took it right at the Bucks. Defensively and offensively, they played to their strengths, and it was just like a landslide victory. However, we've seen them at their worst. We've seen them go on stretches where you go to Miami and you lose in overtime, where you get out-rebounded by the Orlando Magic, and you have those stretches where you're just like, are they engaged? Do they care about the right things? You see players on road trips that stay back and do personal endeavors and don't travel with the team, where the camaraderie, when you're on a losing streak on the road, camaraderie is very important, and you don't stay. And then you hear Brett Brown say, you know, we want to do this, and you hear Al Horford, who's a seasoned vet in this game, say, look, this locker room is different. Like, I'm not myself here right now.
And he's coming off of last year's drama in Boston.
That's what I'm saying. And he never talked about, like, Kyrie and all that.
Nothing
But he's like, yo, even that, like, this is different. Like, it's just a lot of glaring things to this, you know, take into consideration.
And, you know, at some point they are, though. They're going to have to win a game like this against the Milwaukee on the road for some of us to take them seriously as title contenders.
I'm just upset right now because that was my pick. That was my preseason pick, and I'm just mad at myself because I should have did better.
Is there another team? Is there another team that has as high of a ceiling and as low of a floor as the Philadelphia 76ers?
No.
Like, if I told you that they could win a championship or go to the NBA Finals, you'd say, okay. But if I told you they lost in the first round of the playoffs, you'd say, okay.
Denver?
Yeah.
Maybe.
That would be the other team because they're so good in the regular season, the way they're constructed. However, once it comes to playoff, I think they're going to guard Joker a little different.
Tonight,
that's a good call, bro.
Yeah, that's a really good call. Glenn Robinson III back in the starting lineup for the second straight game. Again, he'll start for Al Horford, Bucks and Sixers. Which Sixers team do we get tonight? Do we get the typical road Sixers who just confuse us?
I mean, after Joel Embiid said he's the self-proclaimed best player in the league, I mean, we better get a horse tonight.
So, right, even if they lose tonight, he better go out and score 30.
He better put on what we call on the block a demonstration.
I hope we get good. I hope we get good Philly tonight. But my gut tells me we're going to get the same Philly.
You
we've
got
been
Ben
getting.
Simmons back.
That could be what you ate for dinner, though, Rex. It was a little questionable.
Yes.
Yeah. And that,
Very
my
true.
friend, that, my friend, is a charge.
Thank you. Very
I thought it was
well.
a block.
No, it was a block.